Mount Shasta is no stranger to strange secrets, from whispers of the lost city of Lemuria said to lie beneath the mountain to mysterious disappearances and bizarre sightings. There's an undeniable air of mystery here, and today's story dives deep into one such case. In 1976, Sherry Darrell, a 25-year-old amateur filmmaker from Redding, California, was brimming with curiosity and a passion for adventure. She had recently begun a romantic relationship with Ron Olson, a fellow filmmaker, but Sherry had another obsession: Bigfoot. Back then, the Bigfoot phenomenon was still on the fringes of public interest, with few sources of information besides the iconic Patterson-Gimlin footage. Yet, Sherry was determined to uncover the truth. That spring, Sherry organized an expedition into the dense wilderness of Six Rivers National Forest near Eureka, California. Joining her were Ron and two other filmmakers, Ed Bush and Terry Gaston. Their primary goal? To find any trace of Bigfoot, with plans to head to Bluff Creek, the site of the famous Patterson-Gimlin sighting. The group set out early one morning, their spirits high and their conversations lively. The hike was challenging but uneventful, until they reached a heavily wooded area. There, Ron climbed over a massive fallen redwood tree, pausing to help Ed and Terry across. When he turned to help Sherry, she was gone. Ron scanned the area, calling her name, but there was no sign of her. Confused and growing concerned, the group retraced their steps, shouting and searching for her along the trail. They hoped she had simply wandered off, but feared something more sinister. As daylight waned, their worry deepened, and they reported her disappearance to a nearby ranger station. A massive search ensued, involving teams of rescuers, cadaver dogs, and extensive sweeps of the forest. For 3 days, they scoured the area but found no trace of Sherry. It was as though she had vanished into thin air. Then, miles away from the search zone, an exhausted, disheveled woman walked into a ski lodge. She was dirty, disoriented, and clutching a bundle of twigs and leaves. Onlookers immediately noticed how out of place she seemed, like someone who had been lost in the wilderness for days. The woman was Sherry Darrell. Authorities quickly reunited her with Ron and her friends, who were overjoyed but baffled. Sherry appeared physically unharmed but was deeply confused and unable to explain what had happened. She couldn't recall how she had become separated from the group, where she had been, or why she was carrying the strange bundle in her hands. What happened to Sherry during those missing days? Was it a simple case of disorientation, or did something more mysterious occur in the shadow of Mount Shasta? To this day, her story remains one of the many unsolved mysteries surrounding the mountain. Sherry remained in a strange, lucid state for some time after being found, unable to answer questions about her disappearance because she simply didn't know. However, as her mind began to clear, she started piecing together her fragmented memories. What she shared next was nothing short of extraordinary and unsettling. According to Sherry, she became separated from her group just before dusk, while searching for Ron, Ed, and Terry. Lost and calling for help, she noticed something in the distance. At first, she thought it was a large black bear and she froze, unsure whether to approach or retreat. Cautiously, she tried to maneuver around the creature, keeping a tree between her and what she assumed was a bear. But as she moved closer, the bear stood up on 2 legs. It wasn't a bear, it was a massive humanoid figure. Sherry was paralyzed with fear as the realization hit her. This was Bigfoot. The creature stared directly at her, fully aware of her presence. For a moment she stood like a deer in headlights, panic rising. Before she could react, the creature lunged at her. In an instant, it restrained her and dragged her deep into the forest. Sherry claimed it took her to what she described as its den, where she was held captive for the next 3 days. Sherry's memory of her captivity was vague, but she recalled that the creature would leave and return periodically, bringing her what appeared to be gifts. These included berries, flowers, stones, and even dead birds. She interpreted these as signs of affection, suggesting that the creature may have fallen in love with her. On the 3rd day, Sherry saw her chance to escape. The creature had fallen asleep, snoring loudly. Moving as quietly as possible, she crept past it and fled the den. She wandered through the forest for hours, eventually stumbling upon a road. Following it, she found the ski lodge where she was ultimately discovered. When Sherry went public with her story, the reaction was swift and brutal. Many dismissed her tale as a wild fabrication, branding it absurd and attention-seeking. The media dubbed her the Bride of Bigfoot, and she became the subject of ridicule. Authorities were less amused. They saw the story as a distraction and filed legal action to recover the $11,613 spent on the extensive search and rescue operation. The court ruled that Shasta County, where Sherry resided, was not obligated to reimburse Humboldt County, where the search took place. Judge Frank Peterson even remarked that the case was an exercise in futility. To this day, Sherry Darl's story remains one of the most bizarre accounts tied to Mount Shasta, leaving people to wonder, was it a desperate fabrication, or did she truly encounter something inexplicable in those woods? Whatever the truth, her tale adds yet another layer of mystery to this already enigmatic mountain. The search for the missing boy intensified as authorities scoured every inch of the area around the river and beyond. Helicopters hovered overhead, search dogs were brought in, and volunteers combed the dense wilderness. Yet hours passed with no sign of the boy. The sheer impossibility of a 3-year-old vanishing so completely baffled everyone involved. Then, nearly 5 hours after the boy disappeared, around 11 p.m. or midnight, something truly bizarre occurred. A search team positioned far from the initial campsite reported hearing faint cries. Following the sound, they discovered the boy sitting in the middle of a clearing, unharmed but visibly shaken. The location where the boy was found raised immediate questions. He was miles away from the campsite, across terrain so treacherous that even seasoned hikers would struggle to navigate it. The boy was wearing the same clothes he'd disappeared in, and they showed no signs of damage. No scratches, no dirt, no evidence of the rugged journey he would have had to endure to get there. When asked what happened, the boy gave a chilling account. He told his parents that a big bear had taken him, but as he described it, it became clear this was no ordinary bear. According to the boy, the creature walked on 2 legs and carried him like a baby. He claimed it was gentle and even tried to feed him berries. What made the story even stranger was the boy's description of the creature's den. He said it was a dark, cave-like space with odd objects strewn about, including what he called shiny rocks and sticks arranged in strange patterns. The boy's account, while detailed, left investigators scratching their heads. No physical evidence was found to support his story. No tracks, no signs of a struggle, and no indication of where he could have been during those 5 hours. The tale takes an even darker turn as the connections between the events surrounding the boy's disappearance and his grandmother's past begin to align in unsettling ways. Grandma Kathy's horrifying experience in Mount Shasta, a camping trip turned nightmare, now seemed eerily connected to her grandson's chilling story. The puncture wounds, the inexplicable feelings of sickness, and the disoriented state she and her friend were found in had initially been brushed off as a freak occurrence. But now, those red eyes in the forest and the strange happenings seemed to hint at something far more sinister. Could the other Grandma Cappy the boy described be the same entity that targeted Kathy during her camping trip? And if so, what was the purpose of these encounters? The boy's detailed account of the robotic doppelganger, the underground cave, and the bizarre rituals seemed too elaborate for a 3-year-old's imagination. The description of being told he was from space and placed in his mother's womb brought a chilling alien abduction theory to the forefront. These elements matched patterns described in other abduction cases: strange examinations, hologram-like entities, and memories that feel both real and surreal. As bizarre as it all sounds, the consistency of the boy's story, corroborated by Kathy and his father, lends it an air of credibility that's hard to dismiss. And when paired with Kathy's own traumatic encounter, the puzzle pieces start to form a troubling picture of deliberate targeting, both of her and her grandson. And so the question lingers. What really happened to Sherry Darl and the missing boy in the Siskiyou County wilderness? Are these tales of cryptid encounters merely fabrications or the product of vivid imaginations? Or are they glimpses into a hidden reality we're not yet ready to understand? Perhaps the answers lie somewhere deep in the shadows of the forests, waiting, watching, and forever eluding our grasp. Mount Shasta has long been a focal point for strange occurrences and mysterious disappearances. The tale of a young boy's bizarre encounter with an imposter grandmother is just one of many that intrigue and unsettle. What really happened on that fateful day? Perhaps the most chilling aspect is the apparent intelligence behind these events. This wasn't a random series of occurrences, it seemed methodical, calculated. If the boy's tale is true, then the imposter grandmother had an unsettlingly specific purpose, whether to study him, manipulate his memories, or something even more nefarious. David Paulides himself has described this case as one of the most baffling in his Missing 411 series. The layered strangeness, the connections between events, and the lingering unanswered questions all point to a mystery that defies rational explanation. And so, we are left with a haunting possibility. Was this a random series of uncanny events, or were Kathy and her grandson swept into something far greater, an elaborate conspiracy or an encounter with beings beyond our understanding? The truth, as with so many of these cases, remains shrouded in mystery. But the eerie red lights, the unexplained abductions, and the chilling consistency of the boy's account will keep us wondering, what really happened on that fateful day in Mount Shasta? This story of Mount Shasta truly leaves us with a sense of unease, wonder, and curiosity. From mysterious doppelgangers and robotic imposters to chilling puncture wounds and inexplicable roadside encounters, Shasta's secrets seem to weave a tapestry of the supernatural and the unknown. The eerie tale of the military man spotted on a pitch-black road only deepens the enigma surrounding this region. Could this figure be tied to the unexplained phenomena, or was it yet another bizarre coincidence in an area known for its mystical reputation? The unsettling combination of glowing eyes, strange movements, and the abrupt appearance of a figure out of place reinforces the notion that something extraordinary lingers here. For now, as we continue to piece together these puzzling accounts, the haunting beauty and enigmatic lore of Mount Shasta remain a compelling mystery. Whether these stories hold truths beyond our comprehension, or simply reflect our deepest fears and imaginations, they serve as a reminder of how much we have yet to understand about the world around us. To those who made it this far, don't forget to comment, Shasta has secrets, and keep the discussion alive. Let's dive deeper into these strange stories together, and if you're as captivated by these mysteries as I am, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next chilling episode. Until then, stay curious, keep an open mind, and embrace the unknown.